Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something pretty interesting if you're maybe thinking about starting your own small business.
Yeah, especially if you've ever thought about federal contracts.
Right. We're looking at the Small Business Procurement and Utilization Reform Act of 2025. Bit of a mouthful?
Let's just call it the SPUR Act. Much easier. H.R.818 for anyone tracking.
Good call.
Huh.
So it passed the House back on February 24th and just landed in the Senate Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship on the 25th. So pretty recent stuff.
Very current.
And our mission today for you listening, particularly if you're, say, in that 18 to 35 range, maybe just starting out or thinking about it, is to figure out what this SPUR Act could actually mean for landing those first federal contracts.
Exactly. Because this isn't just, tweaking some rule. It's proposing a potentially significant change in how the government looks at its small business partners.
Okay, so how they have this thing, a scorecard, right, for grading agencies.
That's right. Agencies get scored on how well they meet goals for contracting with small businesses. Different types,
But the SPUR Act wants to add something new to that scorecard.
Precisely. And this is the key part. It adds a new category focused specifically on the number of new small business entrants.
Number, not just dollar amounts.
Right. The number of new businesses getting prime contracts from each agency within certain industry codes, the NAICS codes.
Okay, NAICS codes. Got it. And they're comparing this number
year over year. So they'll track how many new entrants an agency brings in this fiscal year compared to the last one, if the data's there.
Interesting. It really suggests they want to see, like, fresh blood in the system.
That seems to be the idea. Less about just hitting overall spending targets, more about opening doors.
So let's define that term, new small business entrant. What does the bill actually say it is?
Simple definition, actually. It's a small business that gets awarded a prime contract from a federal agency for the very first time.
First time ever.
Okay.
That initial breakthrough.
That's the one, getting your foot in the door officially.
And I notice it's not just any new business. They're specifically calling out certain groups.
Yes, absolutely. The tracking has a specific focus on new entrants owned and controlled by service-disabled veterans,
Okay.
qualified HEP zone businesses, businesses owned by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, so think 8A,
Right.
and also small businesses owned and controlled by women.
So a real push for diversity among these new contractors.
It certainly looks that way. It's layering that focus onto the new entrant metric.
So how does this, fit in with the existing scorecard? Does it change the old metrics?
It gets added alongside them. The existing measures, overall dollars to small businesses, dollars to women-owned, veteran-owned, et cetera, they stay.
Okay.
This just adds another dimension for evaluation. It means agencies are, incentivized not just to spend money with small businesses, but to actively find and award contracts to new ones.
Especially those diverse ones we just mentioned.
Exactly. It could shift how agencies approach their outreach and procurement. The bill even mentions, renumbering some existing parts of the Small Business Act to fit this new piece in cleanly.
Gotcha. Now, something that stood out to me, the bill explicitly says no extra money is authorized for this.
Yeah, that's significant.
What does that signal, you think?
It suggests the goal isn't spending more. It's about better tracking and maybe shifting priorities within existing resources.
So using the data they gather to see who's doing a good job, bringing in new players, and maybe encouraging others to follow suit.
That seems plausible. More transparency, maybe highlighting best practices without needing a bigger budget line item. Focus on efficiency and opportunity.
Okay, let's bring it back to you listening. Again, thinking about that younger crowd, maybe dreaming up a business plan right now. Why pay attention to this SPU Act?
Well, if this passes, it's a pretty clear signal, isn't it? The government might be putting a real emphasis on giving companies like yours, first-timers, a shot.
That first contract can be huge.
Absolutely massive. And that specific focus on diverse ownership categories, that could open up pathways that maybe felt kind of closed off before. It's potentially lowering a barrier to entry.
So it could make the whole federal marketplace feel a bit more accessible for startups.
That's the potential hope, I think. Injecting new players, new ideas.
So boiling it all down, the core idea here is
transparency. Really understanding which agencies are successfully engaging with genuinely new small businesses, not just the established players.
looking beyond just the total spend.
Right. Who's getting that crucial first opportunity? It's about fostering a more dynamic base of government contractors.
Which leads us to that final thought for you to chew on. If there's this bigger focus on new entrants, How might that actually change the competitive landscape for federal contracts down the road? And maybe more importantly, if you are that aspiring entrepreneur, what could you be doing now to make your new business look like a really attractive candidate for one of those first-time contracts? Something to think about.
Definitely food for thought.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.